Courses. From its pristine 18-hole course layout to its amazing pro shop, Jason Linhart and the staff at Ocala Golf offer everything that you need for your golf outing. That's the Ocala Golf Club. Experience country club style golf at municipal prices. You won't go wrong with the Ocala Golf Club. Call them for a tee time today, 352-401-6917. That's right. It's In the Garden with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. She joins us, as she does every Tuesday, to take all your questions about your flower beds, your gardens, your grass, your trees, your bushes. If you grow it, she can talk to you about it, as long as it's grown in dirt. Let's just clear that up. Clear that up. Okay. She don't want to know anything about the hair coming out of your ears or anything.
No.
Carol Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I tried to surprise you.
Yes, you did. It didn't work.
Didn't work. It's hard to surprise you.
Well, because I got here early.
Right, you got here early. And I was trying to get somebody else. I was trying to get somebody else here early, but she had kid obligations.
No, she got here early, too.
Yeah, but earlier than I expected her to get here, because I know her real well. Yeah. There's regular time, and then there's max time.
That's so true.
Maxine Hunter, who is also a master gardener.
She's the boss.
Joins us in here as well. Maxine, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I get to deal with Carol Ann every Tuesday. My day is bright and shiny on Tuesdays, at least.
That's amazing. I think it's wonderful, Tom.
Maxine is the master gardener for the county extension office. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm the master gardener coordinator and urban horticulture agent.
Right. Which Carol Ann used to be.
No, I was master gardener. No, just simply master gardener. Just simply master gardener.
Simply master gardener.
Simply master gardener.
I think there's a little more goes into it than simply master gardener.
But yeah, I mean, it's just to put it simplistically.
So, Carol Ann, we got our thunderstorms out of the way.
We got our thunderstorms. We have, and if you noticed, even when we were
warmed up.
Friday originally was supposed to be like 36 degrees Friday night.
Yes.
This past one, and it wasn't.
Can I tell you?
Spring's coming.
Can I tell you how dumb I am?
How dumb are you?
You know that miserable day of Friday, where it started.
Yeah,
misting rain
and it got
drizzling,
colder. Yeah,
and it got colder. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played golf in that.
Oh, not nice.
You know what was nice though?
What's that?
Is I looked at the golf course yesterday. I went by there yesterday, and with all the rain and then with the warmth that's happened,
it's nice and green.
Oh, it started to green up and everything.
Yeah.
And because the Ocala Golf Club doesn't overseed in the winter.
Right.
The Bermuda doesn't have to fight with the rye to come back.
Right.
So as soon as it gets a couple warm days,
nice amount of rain,
and cool nights where there's a dew on the ground and everything, that Bermuda says, "Whoa, time to go!
Wake up!" Yeah, and actually, I've seen some red buds blooming around. That's usually when
my azaleas are blooming.
Some of the azaleas are starting to bloom. Yep.
My azalea, my peace lily, it doesn't know what time of year it is. It just blooms about once every month and a half. It
just does its thing.
As long as it's warm, it'll throw a flower out there.
There you go.
Mom says, I'm warm. I'll give you a flower.
I'm happy, right? I'm happy. I'll give you a bloom. I'll show you I'm happy.
But do you think we're done now, or do we got one more coat? Because I looked at the almanac, and the almanac says there's one more little maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
But when I say maybe, the almanac calls for high 30s.
Right. Which, I mean, Friday, we were supposed to get out Friday night to Saturday morning. We were supposed to go down to 36 degrees.
Right.
And it didn't. It was like 42. It depends on where you were.
Right.
Yeah, 46 or so. Because initially I had been worried, do I got to cover that garden center again in the drizzly rain? And it was like, no, I don't have to. Thank you.
How many times have you covered that garden center this year?
This year we had to cover, I think, 3 or 4 times. One time it was one of those things you go, I'm not there. I don't know if they're going to do it. It's going below 40. That's a protocol for Lowe's, is below 40 degrees, you're covering the things with bloom and the things that might frost over. And so we covered, I think, 4 times. And it was, it's a pain.
And that's got to be a pain in the neck.
Especially because it never seems to fail to not be windy. It's got to be windy.
So the covers are blowing everywhere.
Yeah, you've got an 8-foot wide, 30-something foot long piece of frostbite to get up over the PVC hoops and then get anchored down somehow with,
While it's flapping
bricks
in the
and,
wind.
Yeah, flapping in the wind. It's like, okay, with the wind blowing, the frost isn't going to settle, but we don't know what that wind will do in the middle of the night. Will that wind stop and then that frost all comes down? At least this year we didn't have ice on any of the blankets in the morning, so that was a good thing.
You know, I'm a bad person.
You're a bad person.
We finally took the pool noodles
The noodle
off
off the trunk.
yesterday.
Okay.
Max, what we're talking about is Carol Ann has drilled into us that if you keep the graft warm, even if the plant dies,
Even if the top goes.
as long as you keep the graft warm, it'll come back from that graft.
That's right.
That's 100% accurate. So my fiance now,
Yeah.
devised a plan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She devised a plan. You were at the last wedding, I think. But anyway, we devised a plan, and she took pool noodles because they were small citrus trees.
Excellent.
And she took pool noodles and put them around the graft, and then we put the frost blankets over that.
Very nice.
We took the frost blankets off to let the thing get sun. But she was like, these pool noodles, because they're so tight, you got to fight with them to get them. She's like, we're not taking them off.
Okay.
So we took them off yesterday.
Okay.
Underneath the pool noodles,
You got sprouts.
like 8 or 9 sprouts on each tree.
Well, anything under that grass.
It's above the graft.
Yeah. Well, even then, I would probably, unless you want to bush.
No, I clipped
Yeah,
them
unless
off.
you wanted it to bush
Right.
back out, I would.
No,
yeah,
I clipped them.
Yeah.
'Cause
But
you
it
told
kept it
me-
warm enough.
You told me let it grow,
Yeah.
not, And so, it kept it warm enough, though, that
Yeah.
it was having,
That it was making new growth underneath
the pool
and
noodles.
especially because you lost all the leaves.
right, all the
It
leaves
got
are
cold
gone.
enough, he lost all his leaves.
Right.
So
But now, when you look at where all the leaves are lost, there's
you
little
get
buds
little
coming
green
back
buds.
there, too.
Yeah, they're starting. Oh yeah, they're starting. I mean, we had a winter of temperatures that were below average almost the whole
stayed that
winter.
way.
Right. So things went dormant and stayed there this year.
Yay.
So I think some of I haven't noticed, because I think they've lost a lot of the trees here in these parking lots. But and I haven't been over on the boulevard by 8th, because didn't Walgreens have the like the Cleveland pears that take that cooler extended winter in order to get bloom out of them? So some
the
of
pear
those
tree-
northern,
the Walgreens
some of those
on 8th,
yeah.
the pear trees there are flowered up.
There you go. So we had a long enough and extended enough, cool enough winter that those northern, little more what we think of northern plants actually had a chance to get to their dormancy before spring came through.
Right.
Our lawn guy did something yesterday that I thought I was going to ask you about and think, because I thought it was a good idea. Susan was like, I don't think it would have hurt it that bad. He cut on the highest level yesterday. So in the backyard, even though the grass is starting to grow, the backyard looks like it was de-leaved instead of cut.
Oh yeah, just vacuumed more than yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it hasn't
and
really
he said
grown
it's-
much.
Well, no. Ours is growing pretty good.
Is it?
Ours is, we've gotten almost 6 inches of rain in February.
Yeah.
And it started to warm up, and the St. Augustine has decided it's ready to
It's
go.
gonna grow. Yeah.
But he maybe cut an 1/8 of an inch off the top because it
Because he's worried about more
Damaging
cold
it.
weather.
Right.
He's worried about
right.
more cold weather.
yeah, is that why he did it that way?
More than
Because it
likely.
got all the leaves off it. It looks fantastic.
Right. But it's just a little long.
And the reason I know it's a little long is because I have a miniature dachshund, Elvis.
And you lost the dog?
No, Elvis doesn't like for his underbelly to drag on the grass.
You get tickled by the
Right.
yeah.
And when the grass is high, he'll look at you like, I'm not going out there. You can forget that.
I'm gonna get lost over there.
I'll go right, and he goes right over in the flower bed and does his business. And I'm sure the flowers are real happy
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
sure.
The acidity of
The
his
little- yeah.
his little dog liquid that he puts out. I'm sure the plants love that.
Just yeah.
Yeah, a tree grows in Brooklyn. Wasn't that it with dogs?
I believe so. But yeah, that's probably my thought is he's probably thinking about possibility of
Could you
cold
go ahead
weather
and cut
again.
the grass now and be okay? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's actually growing, yeah,
And it
you
is.
need to, because you don't want to at any time take off, or have to take off more than that 1/3 of the height of it. So if you let it get too long, then you're cutting more, and you either need to use a catcher or rake up the piles that get left behind, because you don't want them to just,
No.
sit there. Or it's, unless they're really using a good mulcher blade, it's bigger pieces falling down in there, causing thatch later.
Yeah, but if you just leave it laying there without it mulching up, it'll kill the grass underneath it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you'll rake it up eventually, and there'll be yellow spots
Yeah,
all over it.
yeah, it's like when the moss falls out of the trees. You got to go pick up the moss before you mow, and so that you're not just getting that mess.
How far are we from getting the spreader out?
What? You got
3
the
weeks.
three. Yeah, I was going to say you need a new
Today's
calendar.
Today's February 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah,
Usually
so-
about March 15th.
Yep, sometime between the 15th and the 30th, you go ahead and get the
So
gentlemen.
the Ides
start
of
the
March,
spreader.
I can start using the spreader.
Get your yeah. At that point, yeah, and it's been tough to get people to, you're here, buy it, but put it in the garage for a couple weeks. Come back and see me. I'll tell you when. We'll flip the bag back over, and I'll show you your directions again. And
Max, how much damage do you see working at the extension office and all? How much damage do you see from over-fertilization?
A lot. We see people that have actually burned their lawns quite badly with over-fertilization and using weed and feed products. So I always like to tell people, if you use weed and feed products at the wrong time, you usually end up fertilizing the weeds and killing the grass. So they kind of work opposite if you don't have your timing correct. And a lot of times when we start getting this nice weather here in this time of spring, people want to go ahead and fertilize, and it's just a little too early, because if you start promoting the new growth in your turf, and then we do get a heavy freeze, it's going to really do some damage. So it leaves some pretty unique designs in your lawn. So if you like to see that, then, hey, take that risk. But a lot of times you'll end up having to buy some new sod to put down.
yeah, and not just that. It's just, the sod growers, and I think I've said it before, don't recommend the use, and neither does the University, of weed and feeds really at all. The best means of attack is kill the weeds,
Yep.
Feed
and then
the
come
lawn.
feed the lawn.
Right.
Correct.
And at the proper timing.
And of course, it's always important too to make sure that you have a good identification on the weeds that you're treating before you just randomly start applying pesticides.
Otherwise, effectiveness, your costs, your time, all of those, and good
So you're
stewards of
telling
the
me I
environment.
shouldn't just go out and buy a bottle of Roundup and just spray the whole yard?
No, not unless you're doing not unless you're doing lawn replacement.
That's right.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. He lived, Max, you actually know who my buddy was. My buddy Steve that lives on Cowpen.
Oh, yes.
He wanted to grow the grass around his beach,
Okay.
and it was all weeds. So he thought, well, my grass will grow if I kill the weeds. And he sprayed it with Roundup, and
Okay.
then he had to extend the beach farther up.
Because he killed it all.
He killed it all off. This is like 10 years ago. Just killed it.
Just
so he had
killed
to
it.
extend the beach up a little
Up for
farther.
another few feet.
Yeah, if you put the Roundup down, you got to have a plan as what you're going to put back down, because it does kill everything.
It
It
kills
will, yeah,
everything.
it will,
It's
yeah.
like chemo for grass and weeds.
Right,
It kills
and
everything.
it's funny because I have people come in and they're looking, because you can get the hose end nozzle applicators for your insect control and for your lawn weed control, and people want that for their Roundup. I said, why would you want that? It's dangerous enough that you have a wand in your hand in your pump sprayer. And what happens when you sneeze? And I wave my arm, because there goes the wife's azaleas or
Right.
rose garden. And it's one of those things of you have to know you did it and rinse that off within 5 minutes. Otherwise, it is absorbed by the plant. And they look at you and they don't. Sometimes they go, they get a realization, or they still don't get it.
Yeah.
It's you can't get that stuff too close. You can't blanket apply that without possibility of damaging the desirable plants in the landscape. And
Correct. So when you're using Roundup or glyphosate, it's got a couple really good uses in that if you're looking to prep to put new sod down, it has a very short residual period of about 3 to 4 days at the most. And so it's really good for those short applications and killing everything off for something that's a new, fresh, clean clean start. But otherwise, you really need to make sure you're using an herbicide that's specific to the weed that you have.
Right. Yeah, because it's non-selective.
Correct.
Did we have last week, Carolyn, a caller say, "What if I just put clover in made my yard
Yeah, it
all
was,
clover?"
yeah, wanted clover. I said, yeah, you can.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to find it locally as a seed, maybe.
You can actually, because it's used in a lot of food plots, so in a lot of ag areas. So there are certain types of clover that you can find to put down.
So there's an
There's the
option.
answer.
There's an option.
I think though, if I put clover all over my yard, butted up right to that cow pasture I'm butted up next to,
You're going to have
it
friends.
could be a problem.
You're going to have friends, and you won't have to worry about fertilizer.
No, because I'd have to worry about fencing.
Yes.
Because a cow will come find the clover.
Oh yes.
Yep.
And you would find out if there's any goats in the neighborhood or
Oh
anything
yeah.
else. Yeah,
When I was a kid growing up, we had a patch of clover in our front yard.
Yeah.
That my mother hated. She wanted something done with it. And my dad was like, "Geraldine, the kids loved that clover." Because we would lay out there. It was right, by the way, it was on top of the septic tank. Because it always is.
Very happy clover.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we did. This is how I knew I wasn't going to be hurt by the coronavirus. I played in my front yard on top of the septic tank. Okay, 'cause that's what you did when you were a kid.
We also chased the mosquito trucks
did.
and that.
You
yeah.
breathed in
That's
the
what, yeah. We're all immune to it.
I would lay in
But
that.
what we didn't know what a 5-second rule was.
Correct.
I would lay in that clover patch in our front yard
Pop
with
the-
a magnifying glass, trying to find a 4-leaf clover. I would lay there for hours.
We used to pick and pop the
I
flowers
found
off, or make. Or
I
tie
found
them
one,
over.
I think, in the entire time it was there. We lived at that house, and I mean, I could get lost in that clover because I always said, yeah, I always believed if you find a clover, you get good luck. And I
Right.
needed,
You
as
need
a
as
kid,
much as
I
you
needed
could
as
get.
much as I could get. So I would spend hours laying in that clover patch. And I say clover patch, it's probably 10 foot by 6 foot, 10 foot by 7 foot. It was a big old patch.
Big enough
How it
for-
got there in the front yard of a house in a neighborhood in the middle of Jacksonville. Some bird flying over or something. Who
happened,
knows?
yeah. Showed up. Yeah, somebody mowed somewhere and blew the seed through the air, and that's people don't get that either. Is that when they put down, they kill off everything. They plant the new flower bed, they plant the new shrub area, nice planting. They put their landscape fabric down, they put their mulch down on top, and 3 years later they're getting weeds.
Yep.
You know, yeah, the weed fabric doesn't work. Yes, it does.
It
Your
works
weeds
if
are
it-
coming from the top.
Yeah.
Where
It's
things
settled,
mowed,
right.
It's the mulch has broken down and created soil now up on top of that fabric, and every time somebody mows or the wind blows or a bird passes by, seed comes in.
It's
And
36
it comes
months
up.
of mulching turns into dirt.
Yes,
Over
yes.
36, especially in the Florida heat.
And right,
it's gonna
and
be
the
some
and the
dirt.
rain, it's going to break down and become, it's become mulch. And this is and again, here we are, we're coming into that time of year where people are freshening up those beds. And I usually tell people, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Maxie, maybe you can tell me. I usually tell people every few years is to really take all of that out.
Yes.
Go put it in your compost heap or something like that, or put it along the fence.
Clean and
Clean it
redo it.
and redo. Put your fertilizer down. I mean, even I would say mature trees and shrubs really don't need fertilizer, but maybe every few years when you freshen that up to get you a bag of 8010 or 101010, something simple like that. Put some down underneath there. Fresh mulch. You will have gotten rid of all the weeds.
Yep.
You will have given those shrubs maybe a little boost that maybe they've needed because they've been in the ground for several years. You've checked your irrigation if you've got underground in those areas, and you just start over fresh. Usually, great big mulch sales go on.
Yep.
Or they're trimming trees through, Duke's trimming trees through the neighborhoods, or the city of Ocala's trimming trees. You can get your mulch that way, sometimes. So it's a good way every few years,
Yeah, I would agree completely, Carol Ann, and and that also prevents the volcano mulching, which
Yes.
we see so frequently, and gives you the opportunity to check on your root systems that are down there and make sure that you don't have any problems that are being created. So that's something that we work on a lot, and you don't want to have that mulch piling up against the trunk of any tree or shrub. And if
Right.
you do have irrigation under there, usually once those shrubs and trees are established for more than about 6 months, turn it off.
They don't need it.
They just don't need it, and that's something that you can do to save a lot of water and a lot on your utility bill. Additionally, we see a lot in this area, people that put the rock down instead of mulch.
Yeah.
And remember that that just doesn't support the biological processes the same. The mulch does break down into soil, but that's what you want it to do.
Right.
The rock, on the other hand, creates heat issues that actually can burn your plants in the summertime. It's still going to grow the weeds in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
So it's not going to prevent anything.
And it gets dirty.
It gets very dirty.
It gets algae and moldy. It gets black.
What it also gets is it creates a little sandy grit, the rocks do.
Yeah.
That then your pets can bring into the house and make your floors even more sandy and
Right,
gritty.
right. And that and with the rock too, it's heavy.
It's very heavy, and it's a lot of labor.
It's a lot of labor. And I mean,
Packs that dirt real tight too.
Yep.
Probably doesn't let the earth breathe like it should.
right,
Correct.
right. Yeah, the house I'm in, I went to put in. Thank goodness it was just little small pieces of peacock ginger. So you just need a piece the size of the end of your little finger to get started on that. But I'm trying to dig in this, and apparently they had white marble. Well, it's buried. You don't know it's there anymore. But until you start trying to get your hand trowel in there and you're going, there's rock and more rock, because no one was in the house for a couple of years. So over time, leaves covered all that up, dirt happens. And so now you
3
get to
inches
wrestle.
below,
There's rock in there. Yeah, rock.
622-9622 is the number to call if you would like to ask any questions of Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Maxine Hunter, Master Gardener Maxine Hunter, also in the building.
Yeah, got the big boss.
Yeah. So, Carol Ann, how helpful is it to have a resource like Maxine and the Extension Center and all right here in Ocala, where you
it's
can pick
priceless.
up a phone,
It's
you can pick up a phone
priceless.
or send an email if you needed to.
It's priceless. Not just the professionals with Maxine as the extension agents, but the master gardeners themselves. The volunteer portion of that is I mean, you can't beat a resource like that, because most garden centers, big box store garden centers, don't hire horticultural based people. They hire people that can put plants on tables, that can load mulch, that can load rock, maybe sell you a piece of fence, show you where the bag of fertilizer is. But plant knowledge or planting knowledge and insect knowledge and things like that just does not happen. It's it's not.
Yep.
It's not their
because
purpose.
they're not there for consulting. They're there to buy the plant, get it out the door, put new plants on the shelf.
On the shelf, right. Restock the shelf, make sure, help the customer get what the customer's looking for. But I mean, like I said, my store's lucky they got me. Yeah,
very lucky.
A lot of stores just don't have that resource. So having that as a phone call away or an email away is fantastic. And the website.
Yes.
The gardening solutions. And it was funny because I brought up, and I was going to ask you, let's wake this thing back up. This is some of the upcoming events, and a lot of these, and I was going to ask you, when people start looking at these, all they're going to do is click on them and they can get some more information, how to sign up. And these are, I'm gonna grab my cheaters here. Proper tree planting, creating backyard habitat with native plants, taking the mystery out of micro irrigation. That's an important thing. And a lot of these are all from all different counties, and they're all online now.
The reason I think that's great is we went, before we started doing Bob Wines, going to Bob Wines regularly, we went to one of the local big box stores, not the one you work for.
Right.
The
There's
other
one closer. Oh, the other color one.
The other one that owns the Atlanta Falcons.
Gotcha.
But anyway,
Okay.
I go there because they own the Atlanta Falcons. So anyway, we went there, and I asked somebody out in the gardens, and I go, how will these do in sunlight? He goes, I don't know, read the tag. It's on there. That was literally what he said to me.
They don't
I don't know.
No, they
read the
right,
tag.
right.
I'm sure it's on there. He didn't say it mean-spirited or
Right,
anything.
but
he just literally
was just
didn't know.
little too busy. And a lot of times and even my people that work with me, I also, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know.
Yep.
Let's go look.
Yes.
And see, that's where I make them educate themselves, is go read the tag with the customer. You'll find out, customer finds out, and you're learning a lot more.
I learned, I don't know anything about planting or anything, but I learned by doing it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything 30 years ago, 35 years ago now, about bartending. but I was
you
a
learn
bar
how-
back, and I just watched it happen, and I learned how to do
You
it.
learn how to do it.
There's a lot of things you can just read and watch on the internet and stuff, and do it. And you can cook that way. You can plant things that way.
You use the resources that are available to you. University of Florida has so many publications that are available for purchase at all the different bookstores.
We'll take your phone calls after the break. You're listening to In the Garden with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
California Attorney General Javier Becerra has confirmation hearings this week to be the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. Becerra will face the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee on Tuesday and the Senate Finance Committee on Wednesday. Critics are saying he's literally the least qualified nominee in the history of the agency. No experience in health,